We're joined now by Tim Sweeney. Epic Games just closed a $250 million investment from Sony, valuing Epic at $18 billion. Tim, thanks so much for joining us today after that big news earlier this month.
Oh, thank you very much for having me.
So, Tim, I want to start off with Fortnite and your gaming platforms. What are you seeing in terms of user engagement and activity during this stay-at-home period of COVID?
Well, people are, since they can't get together in person, they're getting together online. And we're seeing record levels of Fortnite engagement, and especially social engagement, people playing together with groups of their friends, since they can't get together in the real world. And it's been really, really great for building the online community.
I think it's interesting that Fortnite is kind of expanding beyond that core gaming activity with concerts. You had this big Travis Scott concert, over 27 million live views. Tell me a little bit about where you're expanding in terms of the types of activities and events you're creating within that platform.
Yeah, the concerts are just the very beginning. We've had movie crossovers, for example, Star Wars characters appearing in Fortnite, and Marvel crossover. A vast number of things so far. But this is just the very beginning of the effort. We want to make it possible for any developer to bring their own content into Fortnite, and any brand to have their presence known in Fortnite. And rather than having one of these big events every few months, have it grow into an ongoing, self-evolving ecosystem. As you see on other social platforms, where you don't need to do a deal with Epic to be online and to have your event appear in Fortnite.
Now, Tim, you're sort of referencing Epic being more of an open platform, but you are taking a pretty public stand against Apple and the 30% fees that they charge in their App Store. Tell me what your position is on Apple and how you're trying to position Epic in light of that.
Well, Apple invented the personal computer industry, right? And the first several generations of hardware were all open platforms, right? And here's my Apple II. I brought it out just to remember what it was like in the early days. Anybody could write code. You turned on the machine, you had a programming language prompt. Anybody could release software. Users could install software from any source of their choice. And now, Apple is locked down and crippled the ecosystem by imposing, an absolute monopoly on this distribution of software, on monetization of software, and they're preventing entire categories of businesses and applications from being developed in their ecosystem, by virtue of excluding competitors from each aspect of their business that they're protecting.
It's great to have you once again. It's John Fort. I wonder more broadly, in the gaming ecosystem, isn't this a problem? Because I look at EA and what they do with games, even on the PC versus on the console. There's reduced flexibility in how a player can play a game from one PC to the next, even once you've bought it. There are kind of these subscription regimes that are very funky. Now, I know you don't have that in Fortnite, but that sort of makes you unique. How does that get fixed?
Well, the good news is the tech industry is improving rapidly, right? 2 years ago, you could not be an Xbox player and play with players on PlayStation or Nintendo Switch. Platforms had rules preventing communication between platforms. And over the past few years, Sony and Microsoft, Nintendo, and all of these console platforms have opened up and become very pro-developer and pro-consumer in the way they enable every game to connect all of their users everywhere. Now, the remaining barriers to fair competition and really robust evolution of the entire tech industry ecosystem are the store monopolies, where Apple doesn't allow competitors, competing stores, to exist on their platform at all, and Google intentionally stifles competing stores by having, user interface barriers and obstructions to installation, stifling competition and payment. If every developer could accept their own payments and avoid the 30% tax imposed by Apple and Google, we could pass the savings along to all of our consumers, and players would get a better deal on items. And you'd have economic competition, lowering the barrier to entry and payments and seeing entirely new forms of payment competitors. And finally, competition among stores. Other stores need to be able to exist and thrive on these platforms so that you can have stores competing for developers' business, and every end of this ecosystem being connected and open as platforms have been, as Windows is today, and as the expectation must be for multi-billion user consumer platforms.